Is it recording? Yep.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Great to see so many faces, familiar and new. Welcome to today's webinar. It's all about how to write a great post in your social collaboration, social network, enterprise social network. My name is Luke Sinclair. For those who haven't met me, I'm the Director of Customer Success and Growth in New York, in the East Coast of the USA. I am joined today by a few people. You can see some friendly faces on the screen there. And we're going to do we're going to do a quick round of introductions. Let me fire up the... Do you see the slides already?
Yes.
Oh, you do.
We see them, but they're not in presentation mode. Now they are.
There you go. There you go.
What I was sharing. Too many things going on at the same time. My brain is struggling to be across them all. So we've got a really fun agenda for you today. We're going to, first of all, introduce you to some of the people who are on the call, some of the speakers. We're going to talk about the secret formula. I don't know if it's really a secret. You might find that it's pretty self-explanatory, but something that we think really works. So we're going to talk through the formula of writing a great post. We've got Lindsay and Larry, some customers of Swoop, who are joining the call. They're going to share some real-life examples, sort of how this plays out in real life. And then we're going to talk. Coco's going to talk a little bit about how we think about this in terms of analytics. Like Coco said at the beginning, this is meant to be really interactive and fun. We host it as a Teams meeting like this because we want to hear from you. We don't want it to sort of be sort of like a webinar or sort of, you know, a one-way communication. We think these are more fun if we use the chat. Like Coco said, we'll keep our eye on the chat. So if you have questions and you don't feel brave enough to unmute and ask as we go along or at the end, just pop them in the chat. We'll keep an eye on there. And, you know, I'd encourage all of you to introduce yourself in the chat too. There might be some, you know, opportunities to meet new folk in your network who might be able to help with some of the problems you're facing. I think probably a lot of like-minded people in the room. So like I said, I am Customer Success and Growth on the East Coast. We'll go along the line. Coco, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Luke. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. My name is Coco Molina, if we haven't already met. And Luke and I are kind of your customer success team here in North America. I'm based out of Redmond, Washington. And together we make up the Swoop team.
And then Lindsay and Larry, when you introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about your organizations and also your role. So Lindsay, you go first.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Lindsay Zollner. I'm with RealFoundations. We're a professional private management consulting and managed services firm focused solely on real estate. So we help companies that develop, own, operate, or invest in real estate solve problems and make profitable decisions. We have over 450 clients in our client base, and we operate in the US, Europe, Australia, and Hong Kong. And I'm the senior manager of the presence and asset support team. Our team's responsible for business development support, market research, online presence and marketing, as well as curating knowledge and fostering collaboration within the firm's digital workplace.
Awesome.
Larry?
Notice that. I love your background. It looks very zen there, you know, very peaceful in your office. Sorry, Larry.
Thank you.
That's fine. No, that's all good. My name is Larry Glickman. I'm with the Union For Reform Judaism based in New York, but I work out of my home in Buffalo Grove, Illinois. And one of the hats that I wear at the URJ is the Director of Network Engagement and Collaboration. We host a Yammer network for our 200 to 300 staff members of the URJ, and we host an external Yammer network for the lay and professional leaders of our 850 affiliated Reform congregations throughout the United States and Canada.
Excellent. So we have a pretty stellar cast. So without further ado, let's jump into the formula, the how to write a great post formula. I think we need a drum roll for that. I do think that what we're going to share with you, I think probably deep down inside you may already know, and hopefully this just helps bring a little bit of clarity to sort of, what we think it takes for the creation of a successful, engaging, great post in your Yammer, Teams, workplace, or whatever other social network you are using. There's three components to this, and we're going to start with the who. This is sort of the first one, and when you are posting a post that you want to be successful, a couple of things to consider about who it is coming from. Seniority helps, the role, and also your reputation. So where the example that I've got up here on the screen is actually a CEO. He posting about a COVID-19 live chat that was going to happen. I think this example is from ANZ Bank in Australia. And obviously the CEO, he's going to likely have a successful, highly engaging post because of his seniority. Now, we know, got the little asterisk down here, we know that not everyone in the organization is the CEO. And we know that not necessarily everyone sort of, is an executive leader or in sort of, a high rank position. But I think when we talk about the what and the when, these things will also sort of come into place. They'll be more explanatory. But certainly reputation on different topics can be applied here to the who, or your role in a community if you're managing a community as a community manager. But the who is really, really important. And, if you want to create engagement around a specific topic, you might even like to think about having someone post that for you, or, engaging a leader to get the buy-in of the people. Let's look at the next one. And it's the what. Now, the what is all about the topic. It's about the subject of the post. And when you're thinking about the what, you want to think about if the topic appeals to a broad audience and if it's relevant, like if it's relevant to the audience and it's going to sort of have an impact on them. The example that we have here, you can see lots of engagement. 41 people, had a reaction to it. There's 52 comments. It's been seen by 2,500 people. A couple of people even shared it. And, it's talking about something that is very relevant to this moment in time. So working from home, it's hybrid workplace. So the topic here is something that naturally, I think many people are likely to want to be engaged with. And, the topic, when you're thinking about the what could be different by community too. So this topic might be great in the workplace community or in a community that is sort of about maybe HR, but it might have no home in sort of technical support, IT support, or the marketing. So the what really can be defined, I would say, by the place that it's being posted. And then the final piece of the sort of little puzzle that we are sort of proposing, the formula, is the when. Now, this example actually comes all the way from our friends in Westpac, New Zealand. They are showing you, this is the CEO posting about sort of like a President's Club type trip. Now, this is the when it was posted is particularly relevant because it is related to an event within the organization. So when we think about the when, it could be either related to a global or regional event in or outside of the company. And the other aspect is the timing of the post. So it might be that the posts are most successful on a Wednesday morning. That's when a lot of people are engaging with the network. And I think your Swoop dashboard could help you sort of figure out when those peak times are. And that really helps you sort of, I think, gain a bit of steam when it comes to super engaging posts. I've seen a lot of great success stories around sort of events or things that occurred locally, near the office or near sort of the city that you're based, really getting a lot of traction. I remember actually when I was working back in Australia as the community manager for Yammer at a company called AMP, which is a bank, sort of financial services firm. We were right down in Circular Quay, which is sort of, where the cruise ships come in. And I remember one day the world's biggest cruise ship, came in and docked down by the harbour outside of the office. And there was a very long and engaging thread in Yammer. We asked people to share a photo of their sort of, the world's biggest cruise ship experience. And people really took to it, over the day or two that it was docked outside. We had photos of people going up underneath and next to it and through the window, and we really got a lot of traction out of it. So, I think syncing to those sort of things can be really, really useful. So we talked about the three things: the who, the what, and the when. And we believe that for a post to gain engagement, significant amounts of engagement, you really need to think about two of these aspects. So it could be a who and a what, could be a what and a when, but you need to sort of have two of those factors to really create something that's truly engaging. Like I said, not everyone's the CEO, so the who sometimes can be a bit more challenging, but the what and the when are really important. Now, you thought it was this simple? We got a surprise. There's a fourth aspect, which we think is sort of more like the overarching thing that's really critical to all engaging posts. And this is the how. This is an example of a leader posting something very personal at home, so the content and the tone of voice is very authentic. They are sharing a picture of their child, a video. It's actually a video. We can't play the video, unfortunately, but they're sharing a picture of their child and some things that are happening at home during their COVID lockdown. And this got a lot of engagement. It was a really successful post. And, it really plays to that sort of like being vulnerable and sort of, opening up your door, bringing your whole self to work. Senior leaders here in her pajamas, playing with her kid. And I think that's very humanizing. So the how you go about it is really important. Content, tone of voice, we talked about. Also encouraging participation in a post. Now, anyone who is a Swoop customer or has heard us sort of talk about Swoop to your organization, if you're not a customer yet and we've sort of pitched you, we talk a lot about questions and at mentioning. We know through the research, through the YAM Benchmarking report, the workplace work that we do, Teams benchmarking, we know it's a fact that when you use a question or you at mention someone in a post, they are much more likely to get a reply and create more engagement. So that's a sort of a key factor in creating an engaging post when you're thinking about the how. And then also the last piece of it is, what's the content? We think that 500 to 2,000 characters max. 2,000 actually seems long to me, but around that seems pretty good. And the use of video and imagery. We know that video content is really, lightning at the moment. Lots of videos floating around, and I think sharing a video has really gotten a lot easier than it used to be. But we know that pictures also have an impact on the engagement of a post. So I urge you to think about that. What is the content, and how can you sort of create something that feels authentic and engaging? So that's the final piece, the how piece. And I've talked for 10 minutes about sort of our theory, who, what, when, how. And now I want to ask Lindsay from RealFoundations to jump in and share with us, a little bit about sort of what they're doing over inside of RealFoundations, and what great posts they've seen and what made them great. So Lindsay.
Great. Thanks, Luke. And I think a lot of the tips that I'm going to share are going to echo a bit of what you're saying, but I'll start with talking a little bit about RealFoundations collaboration techniques, and then give a few examples of what Swoop tells us are our top ranked posts. So just a little background, excuse me. At RealFoundations, we've adopted an efficient way of what we call working out loud to share what we know and increase the velocity of knowledge across the firm. And we've been cited in Swoop's annual benchmarking report since 2017 as a leader in collaborative practices. So we think we know a little thing or two. As early adopters of Yammer and Teams, we have a clearly articulated vision from the firm's leadership about the importance of this better way of working to promote collaboration across our 8 global offices, and now even remotely wherever people may be working. We refer to Yammer oftentimes as our virtual water cooler. It's the place where we share information, ask for help in solving problems, and really tap into the collective knowledge of the firm. And we use Teams as our digital workplace where we host meetings, make decisions, create and revise documents, and basically get work done. So as client-serving consultants and delivery managers, we were already versed at collaborating with project teams, but in an office-like setting with a conference room and whiteboards and team meetings. So for us, the shift to digital collaboration, once the structure was defined, was ultimately easy for most people. One of the biggest hurdles we encountered when starting our digital collaboration journey was helping our colleagues really feel comfortable enough to engage with each other in a public setting without spending too much time worrying about things like proper punctuation or spelling or format. And we continue to work on this, but we've come a long way, and we can now see an almost 90% active engagement across the firm with metrics provided by Swoop. So using that Swoop data, we've been able to identify our what we call rockstar employees that live and breathe working out loud. And with their help, we've continued to model that behavior and encourage the rest of the enterprise to do the same. So we think that if you can first help your end users feel comfortable and connected to their colleagues in the various channels and communities you use, encouraging active engagement is a lot easier. So internally, we strive to increase collaboration in Yammer with the following posting tips. First and foremost, define your intent. So echoing Luke's focus on the what, we think that understanding the why you're posting in the first place will really help make sure you get the right audience and increase that engagement. So what are you broadcasting useful information? Is there a new business opportunity or piece of news you're sharing? Are you asking for help with a problem? Are you fostering connections across your network? Once you can articulate clearly your objective, you can then start fine-tuning your audience, which here is our second tip. So along with Luke's comment about the who as the poster, we want you to consider the who as the audience. Make sure to identify the right team or community that includes the target audience you want to reach. And also, to Luke's point, consider the time zone or the general online activity. We find that weekend posts or late night posts don't generally get as much traction as midday or morning posts. So that's what really works best for us. The third thing is you want to grab the user's attention. So depending on the current structure of your company's Yammer environment, I'm going to focus mostly on Yammer for these examples. You, like us, may have hundreds of active communities that end users just scroll through on a daily basis. And we know the ultimate goal in any social platform is to disrupt that mindless scrolling and grab the attention of your reader. So keep it simple. People often overlook long, drawn-out textual posts. So summarize where possible and consider including a brief introduction or summary of the content with a line or two that describes why the post is worthy of a read. That can really help with your engagement. Finally, consider including a call to action. Swoop tells us that, I'm going to quote, asking a question is 4 times more likely to receive a response, and suggesting and demanding an action is more likely to receive your intended engagement. So what do you want the reader to do with the information that they've just consumed? So whether you aim to share information, ask for help or strengthen your community, we think that these tips will really help increase your engagement amongst your network. So I have a couple of examples of posts that have the highest engagement in various communities. Luke, if you want to go to the second one, second slide. This first example is a post from last November.
Sorry to interrupt you. I was just going to say, I love your key tips here because it's sort of like, you know, we've come up with our formula, but this is sort of like your own, you come up with your own. Like, I think that's really key to what we're saying today is this is a bit like cultural, organizational, where you're at in your journey. Your formula internally might be a bit different or a little bit of an evolution, but sort of, you know, I think we're saying the same thing. So I love that.
Absolutely.
Now I'm going to put the next slide on and stop interrupting you.
No, that's perfect. Please do. Feel free to ask questions. This is an example. It's a post from last November, and it's still ranked the second most engaged with post in our internal Yammer network. Just a little background, the goal of this post was to provide internal practitioners these custom branded backgrounds that you see behind me to be used in Teams or Zoom when they're having those client-facing video discussions to help keep their now virtual workplace that many people have a little bit more personal and private. So aside from the fact that we provided kind of a curtain to hide their messy kitchen or living room area, we feel this post was so highly ranked because of our use of the inherent tools within Yammer. So you can see we selected the all company Yammer community. We have this community, every one of our users is an active member. So that was our real focus, to expand that network or expand our reach. So with 325 employees, I think we had at this time, we noticed about 70% of end users actually saw this message appear in their feed. If we would have used the announcement function in Yammer, all community members would have received a notification and visibility would have been larger. But we used the @mention function, which Luke also mentioned. That ensured that at least 27 people in the organization received a notification. One thing we did here, which also seems to be working for us, we included bold text to elevate a brief introduction of the content. That's going to help grab that end user's attention. And we used a casual tone, which really seemed to engage the audience. We find that less formal, more casual speak in posts doesn't intimidate the audience or discourage them from interacting. So of course, people always need to consider their personal brand. So make sure it's not too casual, but find that balance. And we've seen a spike or an increase in engagement when we're a little less formal. Also, I think I'll echo what Luke said. The use of multimedia or hyperlinks seems to generate more activity for us. Our posts that include photos or videos, either from Stream or YouTube, get the most traction because that visual appeal really stops the scrolling dead in its tracks and entices the user to read and engage. The final thing I want to mention here is just the call to action. Something even as simple as check out the options or click below to learn more will further motivate your audience to want to do the thing you're telling them to do, which is really engage with your content. I have another, if there's no questions about this, I have another example. This was our highest ranked post in the last 12 months. And the background on this post was that we wanted to gather some distinct information about our historical collective client delivery that we could use to further describe our qualifications and differentiators to the market. We think this post was ranked as high as it was for a few reasons. One being that users were provided the opportunity to kind of pat themselves on the backs and share their latest and greatest contributions to the firm. And there was a lot of great positive feedback. It was truly exciting to follow. And we also learned a lot about our diverse capabilities. This was in December, so again, around 325 active users. It was seen, you'll see a lot more than the prior example, by about 96% of the enterprise, and that's because we used that announcement function and we got in front of the right audience, which was the all company. The announcement feature really helped expand that audience and provided that additional notification. And the direct call to action that Jim posted here led to the increased number of reactions and replies, which truly exceeded our expectations. So we think that, like any content marketing or external social marketing, clearly articulating a call to action, like, we need your help, please respond, is so important with social collaboration. It helps the audience really understand what to do with the information they're seeing. And in this case, it was, tell us what you know and what you've done at the firm. So to summarize, if you hear nothing else from me, remember the following tips. Make sure you understand your purpose of posting, get in front of the right audience, use the inherent functionality like announcements or praise or polls to elevate your message. Keep it simple and provide an action, and you should anticipate more engagement with your content as well. So thanks for letting me share what's working for us. Oh, Luke, I think you're on mute.
Or muted.
That was
This is
excellent.
wonderful.
Thank you. Really
Thank
love
you.
to hear, you know, some live examples, and it really helps, you know, illustrate what we're talking about. You know, you can hear us rattle on about these things, but seeing this in real life, really helpful. So next, Larry is going to do a live demo.
Larry live.
Larry live.
So, hey, thank you for having me be a part of this, and I hope that what I have to share will resonate with some of you, and really can't emphasize enough some of the wonderful things that Lindsay was talking about with the executive engagement that she has in her Yammer networks. And if you leave this with nothing else, please try to get that for your own online activity, whatever it is. Wherever the senior leaders of your organization are, others will come there as well. And for those of you who weren't on when I first introduced myself, my work really focuses around two different Yammer networks. I'm from the URJ, the Union for Reform Judaism, and we have about 850 member congregations throughout the United States and Canada who choose to pay dues to us and become part of our organization. So we don't have really any business control over them. We try to connect with them. We try to share with them. We try to help them get the information and expertise that they need. So our main goal in using Yammer was to launch an external Yammer network where we now have over 16,000 users. And what we learned early on is that if you're going to have an external Yammer network, you're going to have an internal Yammer network as well. And we really used our external Yammer network as a means by which we could get our staff comfortable with the platform and more likely to engage with the leaders of our congregations on the external network. So we slowly built up some velocity in our internal network. Truth be told, we didn't have a lot of executive support for this, so we really did the best we could as we moved this along, and was really pleasantly surprised when we won a couple of Swoop Awards ourselves. And I think my first reaction is, are you sure you reached out to the right guy? Because I'm still not sure that you have your facts right. But that was great. And you know, when both Luke and Lindsay were talking about the how, and to make your post with authenticity and to be sincere with your posts, I just want to share something from our internal Yammer network. And I'm going to share my screen here one moment. My team seems to slow my computer down, so just give me a moment here. We're coming in. Screen 2. Let's see. Please let me know if and when you can see my screen. Great. So this is on our internal Yammer network. And I'm always the guy who is trying my best to compel people to please use our Yammer network. If I get a word of a big thing happening within our organization, it's me who says, please post that here. Please be sure to tag folks. This is where we can share information. And imagine my surprise and delight when last March, as we all went into lockdown, that I came to my Yammer network one day and I saw that somebody had created a new group called the Pandemic Potluck. We had all begun to cook and bake from home. And somebody thought, wouldn't it be great to have a group where we could share what we bake and what we do with our kids and all of that stuff. Now, they didn't have an image at the top of the group. They didn't really know how to do that. So I popped something in there. But this quickly turned into a group that people just gravitated to. We saw that every post that, I think, like, what was it, Luke? 90 or 99% of the posts here got a reply of some kind. Because really, I mean, look at this. Who wouldn't love to come to this group and engage? So that's one of the great superpowers of Yammer, I think, is the democratization of how information can be shared. Anybody can go in and create a group, which I think is great. And in fact, you can see I shared a blog post here that I wrote about how Yammer really helped our staff get through the pandemic in a way, because this was the place where we were able to connect. So we really embraced this group, as did the rest of the staff. Now, as far as our external network is concerned, in lots of ways, we are an organization stuck in the past. I mean, we still read from the Torah, which is like 2,000 years old. So it takes us a long time to get with the times. And many of my colleagues, as great as they are stuck in that mode of pushing information out. I have this thing that I need to share. I have this thing that I'm trying to sell. I'm going to post it in our Yammer network and hope that folks engage. One of our affiliate organizations is called CCAR, and they have their own press, CCAR Press. And we created a group for them in our external network, which, as you can see, we call the Tent. And I've tried to help them understand how to make an effective Yammer post, but still they go in and they just make a post. Here's this book we're trying to sell. Here's how to buy the book. And surprise, surprise, out of our 16,000 users, it was only seen by about 34 people here. And I decided that I wanted to try to help. So he talks in his post about plan your book club, and buy this book. And so I made a post, does your congregation have a club? How do you determine what you read and discuss? You know, I wanted this post to be our single source of truth. I wanted to bring people to this CCAR press group. So what I did is I shared the post to our adult education group, where leaders from our congregations come and talk about how they host adult education programs at their congregations. And I simply said, does your congregation have a book club? With that necessary question mark. How do you determine what you read and discuss? It has that necessary question mark. And then the replies came in. And people began to engage with this information in a way that they hadn't before. And everybody loves to share. Everybody loves to talk about what they know. They want to know that they matter to you. They want to know that you are looking for information and expertise that they have to share, as much as they are looking for information as well. So this gives them the opportunity to do that. Was this post a raging success? Absolutely not. However, we were able to show my colleague how to drive more engagement with just reframing the way that you make the post. This is not to say that there is not a place to push information out in Yammer. To be sure, there is, and there's those times that you need to do that. There's those times you don't care what somebody else may have to say or think. You want to get this information to them. However, most times we are trying to engage folks in our platforms. And a wonderful way to do that, as Swoop will advise, is to frame your information in the form of a question. So people know the welcome rug has been rolled out for them, and they know that you want to hear from them. I often say, if I were to rush up to you on the street and with a big sign in my hand, please come to my house for brunch, goodbye. Well, chances are you're not going to come to my house for brunch. But if I come up to you and say, hey, how are you? I'm going to have this brunch. I think you'd be great. You're going to have great stuff to share at my brunch. I'd love for you to meet my friends. Can you please come? The odds will increase, I think, that you might come to my brunch. And I just like to say, we serve a great brunch at the Glickman house. You're all always welcome. So frame things as a question when it makes sense to do it that way. And it will really help to drive engagement.
Awesome, Larry. They used to say, the saying used to be, they would come for the kittens, come for the pets, and stay for the work on Yammer.
Yeah.
Well, now you've redefined that. They come for the food and stay for the work.
Exactly. Right. And yeah, cats and food, you're in.
Yeah,
good stuff.
Love it. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I love seeing the live demo. I think that went smoothly. It's always a bit nerve-wracking when we're doing these things, but that was excellent. Coco, going to hand over to you now to give us a bit of insight into sort of how Swoop sort of helps organizations measure the success of engaging posts.
Well, thank you, Luke. And also thank you, Lindsay. Thank you, Larry, for sharing such great examples of how you are helping others create great posts within your organizations. And it's just so wonderful to be able to see the culture behind a lot of these organizations and how, they are addressing how to write great posts within their organizations. And I think we can all take from each and every one of you that have spoken so far. Now, what I would like to do is I want to show you the measurement side of things and how these formulas are coming to life using some of the analytics that Swoop provides. So these are just kind of recommendations that we can tell you to just kind of pay attention to. And for those that are using Swoop within your organization, these are kind of some of the measurements that we think are the go-to for understanding and pinpointing what some of these great posts would look like. It also has the potential of adding an additional layer of analytics, kind of maybe looking at what your executive leaders and senior leaders and seeing who the most influential people within the post are. So if those are some things that your organization is interested in, this is just really good, some really good stuff to look at. One of the first ones that we'll be looking at today, and what is on screen, is the most engaging posts. And I know that some of you are probably going, is this supposed to give me an aha moment, right? Like, we're talking about a great post and I'm supposed to look at a great post, but yes. And the reason why we say this is if you are someone that has, you have access to what your most engaging post across your organization looks like, I would highly encourage you to go back today, sometime today, look at the top 3 to 5 posts. I mean, you don't have to go in and do like a deep research on this, but look at some of those posts and kind of see, was there a who, was there a when, was there a how? And just look at some of these and see what made them a good post. And then if there were some posts that maybe were there that didn't get the type of attention or the type of traction that you thought you were going to have, maybe go back and see what is missing in those posts. And I'm sure that is the point where you will have that aha moment in looking at the most engaging posts. So one of the things is you want to understand why certain posts perform above others. Again, we're going back to like some of those 3 key factors that we shared. You also want to be able to pinpoint the topics and posts that generate more conversations. The other thing that we would recommend that you do is on the enterprise level, go over to the hot topics tab. Look at some of those keywords, understand what your network is, what conversations are being had, what is popping up, and why are those important conversations? Why are they generating so much conversation? So these are just kind of, kind of a listening device that you can use to see why these posts are so engaging. The second one that we are going to look at are actually three. And so we're going to take a look at the curiosity index, the at-mention index, and the percentage of the two-way relationships. And so what these are strong indicators of how well people across your organization are engaging with each other. And we all know that that a diversity of opinions and ideas foster conversations that eventually lead to productivity. You need that within an organization. And so one of the things that we tell people is take a look at the post and then go over and then look at your curiosity index. Swoop has done a lot of research on this. Of course, that's what we do. And so if you look at the curiosity index, that will give you a true indicator of how responsive people are being to what, like Lindsay said, a call to action. You're asking a question. And so we know based on Swoop research that when you ask a question, you will most likely generate about 150% more replies on a post than when you don't ask a question. So that is just how important it is. The other thing that we tell people to look at is look at your at-mention index. Are you at-mentioning people? Are you bringing people into the conversation? And again, based on research that Swoop has done, we know that when you at-mention or you tag someone in a post, you're going to generate almost 75% more replies than when you don't invite someone into the conversation. And again, both Larry and Lindsay touched on this, on how important it is to be able to, bring these people in, tap them on the shoulder and say, hey, I posted this, take a look, give us a little bit of what your thoughts are. Or share your knowledge with us. And then the third one that is on this page as well is the two-way relationships. We know that if there's a two-way relationship going on, then you have a conversation. When you don't have a two-way relationship, then you just basically have a lecture or you have an announcement, right? So it's really important to be able to open those lines of communication and see and make sure that the percentage of a two-way relationship within your organization is where you want it to be. Again, we know that different organizations, the culture within them is different. So every organization is going to be different. But we have seen that when an organization has a high percentage of two-way relationship, it's a very engaging and very high-performing organization across the board. The third slide that we're going to be looking at is benchmarking. So this one is something that you can do if you are a Swoop admin. And so why is this so important? We feel that this is a report that is meant, I think I put it in the chat over here. It's meant to be more of a coaching technique than a shaming technique. But we all know that senior leaders and top executives are highly competitive individuals. If you show them a benchmarking report and they're at the bottom of the list, they are going to do whatever it takes to come back and see where they can move up and how much they can move up, right? And so most likely if a senior executive or senior leader is at the bottom of the totem pole here, they're going to do one of two things. They're going to go out there and respond, find out how they can be a better collaborator on their own, or they're going to come back to you and say, hey, can you coach me? Tell me what it is that I need to do. And in this case, you're able to see, what type of engagement they have on the platform. You can look at what other leaders are doing and use that as a great example of what a great collaborator looks like. Are they asking questions? Are they bringing more people into the conversation? We did Swoop did some additional research on the impact of leadership on the enterprise social networks. And what we found is if you have the full leadership engaged and they are doing things like replying and liking to other people's posts, there is a huge impact in the increase of engagement across the organization. Because what that's doing is that is giving people or the end user a psychological safety net to come in and be able to ask questions, share their ideas. I know that a lot of people, I'm one of those. Sometimes I'm afraid to go in and put in my opinions or my thoughts. But if you see that you have a senior leader coming in and kind of validating the value that you are bringing into the conversation, that kind of gives you a boost of, you know what, I can go in there, I can do. So it's just really important that leaders understand just the impact that they can have by following the 1, 2, 3 rule that Swoop encourages people to use. And that is, for every post that you do, try to go out and find 2 posts to reply on. And then after that, go out and find 3 posts that you can either, have a reaction to, either like or love or whatever it is that you feel that you need to do on that particular post. And lastly, I think we can go on to the next slide, which lastly is the most influential people. Identifying who the biggest influencers within your organization are is actually very important. And this actual metric can be actually diced down from the enterprise, the segment or business unit level to the communities or groups level. And you can see who the influential people in those communities are or those business segments. And it's really important to know who they are, where they stand, and why they generate so much conversation. So these are the people that when they post, people gravitate towards the content of the post. And it's just, if you want to do a little bit of coaching, go in and look at what these people are doing. Are they asking questions? Are they mentioning people? Do they have two-way relationships? Are they following that 1, 2, 3 rule? And I can almost guarantee you that they are. And so this is kind of like the who piece of the puzzle, right? That we talked about, or that Luke talked about earlier today. And so lastly, we also want to encourage you to look at influential people as your digital champions within your network. Use them as a soundboard. Like, if you've got ideas or campaigns that you are wanting to put out there, use these people as soundboards to be able to have those campaigns or those ideas be successful throughout your organization. So anyway, that's my end of the presentation. And Luke, I'll hand it back over to you.
Thanks, Coco.
You're muted. You're muted, Luke.
I was actually saying, am I muted? And yes, I am. Thank you, Coco. Excellent to see a little bit inside sort of how Swoop likes to think about some of these things. We've got a few minutes left. There's been a bit of conversation in the chat. I do want to put in a plug here. Well, what happened there? So it's if you can, anyone who follows the Yammer benchmarking endeavors, this is the 7th Yammer benchmarking report. It is the biggest we've ever done, and I can't quite actually believe that we're sort of in Yammer benchmarking season already, because I feel like we just launched the last one in November last year. But the Yammer 2021 benchmarking study is going to be coming out late October, early November, we're hoping. All things going to plan. You can register now to receive a free copy of it. It's going to be a big one. We're really excited by some of the things that we are seeing. Obviously, this last year has been, the true hybrid or fully working from home model. So going to be really, really exciting. And, whether or not you're using Workplace or anything else, the content that you find inside the benchmarking report will be relevant to you because the platform is only sort of one aspect of it. So you can scan the QR code there and it'll take you to the sign up page. You can sign up and we will let you know once it is ready. Now, we've got some time for a couple of minutes for questions. There was something going on in the chat earlier. We were talking about Justin, was it? Yeah, Justin from GE Healthcare. We were talking about engaging leadership, and actually Coco showed you the benchmarking page and sort of why we think that really works. And I was saying, that making it competitive can be sort of, a good driver to get engagement and adoption. And there's a great story from a bank in Sydney. The CEO really believed in Yammer as a tool for productivity, and what he did with his senior leadership team is took that benchmarking report, the widget, put it on a TV in his office. And it was, when they came up to the meetings, have meetings with him, they could see themselves as sort of what impact they made on the organization. And it was really, really powerful motivator. I don't know if he still does that now, but I heard it was a couple of years ago. So I think that's, a bit of fun. I see there's a couple other questions. So Elise, how do you keep the influencers engaged long term, especially when many do it outside of their day job? That's a really good question. Any thoughts, panel?
Well, I mean, for me, that question really resonates a lot because in our external Yammer network, it's a lot of volunteers who are sharing their time with their congregations on their board, helping to run the place, and they want to be involved there for the same reasons that they want to be involved in their volunteer role, and they realize they have a voice that people listen to. And I think it's almost like a self-perpetuating thing. And of course, there are people that take to it more than others do. Some people just have that gene, right? That they want to share, they want to work out loud, that they want to help as much as they can. So for a true influencer, and I'm not talking about the CEO who does not necessarily want to post here, but for those who really want to take advantage of a platform like this, they don't need much help from me. They just get that reward on their own. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so I don't know if Lindsay has anything else to share on that.
Yeah, I think that's great, Larry. One thing I wanted to add, to keep those, once you've identified who your influencers are, we learned from Swoop a few years ago that incorporating community managers into your network kind of puts the onus on these specific people to make sure that conversations continue and that questions are answered, and that there's not a question or a post out there that's unresponded to. So that it places accountability on those influencers to continue engaging with the content, and it also kind of just holds them responsible to make sure that these enduring topics or enduring communities continue. So that's awesome. What worked for us.
I see another question there. Will there be a workplace benchmark report? It's an excellent question. There is not a workplace benchmarking report. We have done one in the past, but we are not allowed to do it. But if you do want to see a Swoop workplace benchmarking study, maybe you could have a word to your workplace representative or the person who's responsible for the relationship in your organization and let them know that you think it would be really, really useful, but it's something that workplace asked us not to do. So we don't do it anymore. Any other questions? We've got a couple of minutes left. If there's anyone who wants to unmute, you're welcome to ask it out loud or pop it in the chat. We've got Lindsay, Larry, Coco on the line.
Maybe not even have to voice it.
Look, if you do think of a question afterwards, you can always reach out to us. I'd be happy to connect you with Lindsay and Larry. I'm going to put this recording up on YouTube. I am going to send a copy of it to you, and if you want the slides, I'm happy to share those too. I want to say a huge thank you to Lindsay and Larry for giving up an hour of their time and a bit of rehearsal time as well, getting together. We are immensely grateful. The stories that you tell, just no substitute for sort of me and Coco talking. So excellent. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone, and look forward to seeing you all soon.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.